All right, all right. Welcome back to another episode of the Masterful Conversations podcast, where we talk about leadership from the men who have served or are currently serving as worshipful master in a regular lodge of free and accepted Masons. I am Brother Matthew Wagstaff, a past master of Eureka Lodge number 36 out of Rochester, New York. And I'm with,
I am Brother Mark Alexander, proud past master of Sons of Kings Lodge number 123 out of Brooklyn, New York, where serving as our worship master is Brother Kevin Parker.
yes, serving as my worshipful master is Jermaine Meyer. See, we always get this.
So
We
good.
both hail from the most worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of the state of New York, where serving as our Grand Master is most worshipful Darren M. Morton. We have another esteemed guest outside of the jurisdiction of New York. Again, we heard the feedback and we are excited to have another brother, another past master outside of New York, who is here to share his leadership journey. But before we get into our introduction of our guests for this show, we have a couple of announcements. Mark, you go ahead, you start.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel a little old. I have two sons, and now they're getting tax returns, so they growing up on me. But I'm happy for them, so in making that step, that's good.
Yes, yes. If they paying taxes, they mean they bringing some money in the house. So
Yeah,
hey,
yeah, exactly,
They're
exactly. So
that's the
they
financial.
step.
doing good.
That's the step. It's full adulting right now. Tax
hmm
paying adults right now. I love it.
hmm
Excellent, excellent. Any other announcements?
Nah, I'm good. You?
All right. I want to send a shout out to my son who just turned 13 on the 21st of April. Mason, we love you. Happy 13th birthday. We got a teenager in the house now. It's my
There it
second teenager.
is.
But
Mm-hmm.
we good to go now. Happy birthday, Mason.
Happy birthday, Mason.
Happy
All
birthday, young
right.
man.
So we have past master Mike Epes Sr. in the house today. So before we introduce him, we do have our quick disclaimer.
The views and opinions of the show are our own. They do not express the views and opinions of prospective lodges or grand lodges. The purpose of this show is for educational entertainment purposes only. If you have any particular questions, consult the proper officer in your respective jurisdiction.
Absolutely. So we are definitely pleased to have past master Mike Epps Sr. with us this show. He is a past master of Shining Light Lodge number 401 out of St. Petersburg, Florida, of the most worshipful Union Grand Lodge of Florida. And so we'll talk about what that union means a little bit later in the show. But we are certainly happy to have you on the show, Past Master Epps. Welcome to the Masterful Conversations podcast.
Thanks for having me. Good afternoon, everybody.
Definitely. So you served as virtual master for 2 years,
Yes,
from
sir.
2022 to 2024. So fresh out the seat. Is it still hot a little bit? You still a little.
I still got a little little wounds on the back that's starting to clear off a little bit, but I'm getting used to the least amount of heat.
All right, all right. Yeah, it
No,
feels
no,
good.
no withdrawals, no withdrawals, no power withdrawals.
I don't have those.
That's that part. That's a real thing sometimes.
I've been a teacher student of that for over 25 years, so I don't get
Mhm.
wrapped up in that power aspect.
I stand it. I
Amen.
understand it.
Let's say that again for the people in the back. Let's not get caught up in the power because we say when we get installed, we only here for a little bit of time.
hmm hmm
hmm All right. So yes, worshipful master, past master Epps, serving as worshipful master for 2 years down in the most worshipful Union Grand Lodge of Florida. We would love for you to start off the show by just giving us a little bit of background information about yourself, the year you were raised in Masonry, where you were raised in Masonry, and let's talk a little bit about your journey to the East.
Oh, great. No, I greatly appreciate the opportunity. Um, so I was raised at St. John Lodge 57 in Birmingham, Alabama, under the auspices of the most worshipful Grand Lodge of Alabama, Prince Hall affiliated.
I
Um,
visited that lodge before.
yeah, some good stuff going on out there. And so I actually was raised in Mason October 3rd, 2013. I actually met my wife in 2013. So I was going through the process before we got married. So I still got both today, so that's good, right?
hmm
So I started um, when I was going through the process, it was a past master that brought me through. And what was interesting of it, his name was Saint John Bender.
Yeah.
Mm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
he was the past master. The lodge was named after
After
him,
him.
and I was the only guy on the line. And
Mm-hmm.
we just did a lot of talking, or so I thought. We was having conversation, first degree, second degree, third degree. And then when I got raised, he gave me a book. And I was like, well, what is this book about? So I go to looking through the book, and maybe about 2 months after reading the book, I had an epiphany. I said, well, this man told me everything that came out of this book. He had it as a conversation. And at that moment in my Masonic career, I said, I want to be just like him. Always had suits, clean shave. He never smoked, he never drank. Looked like he was in his 20s, but he was in his 50s. Very clean brother, very sharp. And so that started that fervency for me, because the way that I was impressed once I realized that he memorized the entire book. I wanted to do the same. So when I came through, they made me the senior deacon. And I started at the senior deacon seat. They said, well, this is the workhorse. And I understood what the workhorse work meant. So I immediately jumped into the degree work, jumped into the ritual with this in mind, wanted to learn like he learned. Um, I did the first degree, second degree, third degree, and I worked at that maybe 2 years. And then I moved over to the senior warden. So I went from the senior deacon to the senior warden,
Mm.
and during that time, I was over the degree team. I was over the investigation committee. I wanted to make sure that they was pristine when we was letting people inside that west gate, and I wanted brothers to be able to articulate the rudiments of masonry and understand it. So um, stayed there until 2017, and Irma hit, because I'm in the adjusting world, property adjusting, and had an opportunity to come to Florida off a 30-day contract. Um, got here after 30 days. My wife retired out of corporate America, and then we got a house for 2 years. I did a lease, and they were saying like, "Well, why would you do something so crazy in that situation?" I was like, "Well, we working off a different type of faith." So I found a lodge in Florida, St. Pete, and I joined St. Pete 109. Um, and I was there, I believe I was the junior deacon. I ended up transferring to a lodge named Somerset, 474. And I moved from the junior warden to the senior warden there. And we were sitting, and there was a conversation about a merger of a lodge, Shining Light. So we was like, well, let's go and check out the merger. We went around the corner, and the lodge is right around the corner. I was in Florida 6 years, 7 years, and didn't even know the lodge existed.
Wow.
Um, they didn't really meet. They had a building. There was a church that was meeting there. Building was paid off. So we started talking about this merger idea, and I said, "Hey guys," I said, "if y'all would follow me, I could show you how to get a commercial property without a down payment or a credit check." And they kind of laughed at the idea. And so I became the worshipful master through the transferring of two lodges, the unification of two lodges, Somerset 474 and Shining Light 401. So we had members in both lodges. We had older brothers that was at Shining Light, and we had a mixture of younger and older brothers at Somerset. So I became the worship master over that transition, and literally had to breathe life into a lodge that I didn't know existed.
Mm.
Um, so it was pretty interesting, because I was telling the brothers that, I mean, at this point, we can't go no lower than where we at right now. And
Mm-hmm.
that if we get a great portion of brothers to actually talk about what they would like to see what their lodge looks like. I've been in places where, man, I wish our lodge did this. I wish our lodge did that. I was like, well, we're at a platform right now where we can get many brothers to speak and articulate what they would like to see their lodge become, and then we can create this as that lodge. Um, some of the things that I was looking at is being a Masonic Education Center for the jurisdiction, um, getting some well-worthy qualified brothers, and marketing Shining Light, not through just a district, but through the jurisdiction and through multiple states. I think we got as far as Nova Scotia, and far south is the Caribbean, far west is Colorado. Just people, looking at, paying attention to, coming to visit. So I guess that was pretty much uh, the setup to my time in the East, managing between two lodges and then trying to create a marketing plan that would show what we were trying to do within the jurisdiction.
No, that's a heck of a journey. I mean, going to multiple lodges in order to get to the East, experiencing different cultures and different lodges. Can you, if you can remember, when you first joined the craft, how many brothers were in your lodge in Alabama, and also how many brothers were in your lodge in Florida? I'll always like to give a sense of the size of lodges that brothers are joining to.
In Alabama, we had a great, uh, we probably had about 30-ish brothers. Might have about 15 or 16 that showed up.
Hmm.
So we had a great number, and then we continued growing from there. When we merged, we had 33 brothers at Shining Light, and in the first year, probably could say we had 10, 11 to show up. The second year probably dropped down to like 9 or 10. But I also invited multiple brothers from different districts because we was doing presentations. I was, doing teaching and training periods of instruction. So I invited other lodges to be a part of, so that'll help bolster the numbers.
Got it, got it. So, the other lodge that merged, they forfeited their charter and everything rolled under Shining Light 401.
Correct. So Somerset,
Right.
we returned our charter in, and then we merged under the Shining Light because they was the older lodge, based on the um, Constitution and their
Interesting.
charter.
The history of that law still merges in somewhat from that because it says that merger happens, right? That's how that works.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, so that was a bit of my aim because I didn't want the history of the lodge to kind of go by the
Yeah.
wayside. So
Mhm.
I wanted us to create like a pre-EA packet. I got some profanes that want to come through, and you go through like a pre-EA degree that kind
Mhm.
of talks about Prince Hall, talks about the story of the two lodges, the merger, the information that was associated to it, some important dates. So the history of Somerset 474 doesn't die by the wayside because um, I had one brother that became the 33rd in 77 or 78.
Mm.
I was born in 82, so he's been a 33rd longer than I've been living.
Mm,
So I thought about his history, and we
Exactly.
wanted to be able to merge that together in the dialogue with the new profanes that became the apprentices that came through the process.
got it. Okay. So when you do you remember who the worshipful master was when you came into the craft? Again, this is all for history. Do you remember that worshipful master's name when you came in?
I remember his face. I can
Okay.
see his face. Um, and the name, yes, it escapes me, but he gonna be mad at me. But I see his face and I can't tell you his name, no. Um, the worshipful master from Shining Light, well, he was at Somerset. His name was Anthony Howard. He is currently my assistant district deputy
Okay.
in my district. So um he held down the seat for 5 years. And if you let him tell it, he was holding the seat down for 5 years waiting for me to find the right person to give it to so he can retire.
Yeah.
But his retirement didn't last long. They tapped him for the assistant district deputy, but
All
um
right. More work to do. Okay. Yeah, if
correct.
the name comes back to you, that's cool. That's certainly fine.
Yeah, ask you real quick. Were you around when Brother Bell was worship master? Because I was trying to find a picture. That's when I visited.
Quentin Bell.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my guy, man. He wasn't worse for mass at the time though.
Okay. Yeah,
He
that's when I visited the lodge when Bell was worship master.
Yeah, that's my guy. That's my
Yeah,
guy.
yeah.
Yeah, Quentin
hmm
Bell.
Nice.
That's a
Yes, sir.
coincidence. Wow.
Small world.
Very
Small
well.
world. That's
Yeah,
another
exactly.
note.
Because you might have been there. We might have met that night, or you could have been there when I visited. And,
Right.
if I could, I'm trying to how to find the pictures.
Yes, that's another reminder, everybody. Reminder that the world is too small. You just never know who knows who. So just be
hmm
respectful, be kind. You could be mean to somebody, be disrespectful. You just never know who you're gonna run into in the future, man. So just that's a lesson I had to learn late in life. So I definitely want brothers, everybody listening to understand that for sure. The world is
Exactly.
super small. All
Definitely,
right.
definitely.
Yeah.
Um,
So
yeah, go
go
ahead,
ahead,
go
Mark.
ahead. No, I was going to ask our famous question that we
Let me
have.
let me
Yeah,
let me
get
let
it
me talk
finished
about the
off.
journey real
Yep.
fast. So
Go
when you
ahead, do your
were
thing.
a warden, so we have wardens that are listening to the show right now, aspiring wardens that are listening to the show right now. When you were sitting in the junior warden, senior warden seats, what were some of the things you were doing from a leadership standpoint that you believe were preparing you for the East?
And that's a great question. Like one of the things that I would tell junior wardens and senior wardens is that with each seat, you have to embody the duties and the principles of that seat. And so the way that you are as the junior warden, um, the overseer of the lodge when it's closed, uh, putting together refreshments, trying to determine how to bring money into the lodge, getting to know what all of the brothers individually, what they like, how to keep that brotherly love going, and just embody the position of the seat um, will be a benefit to you. You move to the senior warden, you'll then have to see that from a labor perspective, that you're now the purveyor of harmony. The worshipful masters say that we're going to take over the world, and you're going to figure out what steps that you need to take and what brothers you need to include to be able to take over the world. So you take the worshipful masters theory and you put it into application um, as far as within your power to prevent any disputes, you maintain in harmony. Um, some of the things that I purposely did as a junior warden, I always invited people to my house.
Hmm.
Come out to the house.
Mm,
I got a Blackstone 36-inch grill. I got some drinks. We could talk masonry. We could talk just to each other. The obligation says that you need to know the widows and orphans. So more than just knowing the brother, I need to know the significant other. I need to know the children. So that was big in my junior warden years in Alabama and in Florida, believe it or not. As the senior warden, I was looking to um, make sure that I can take the actions that worshipful master was trying to do in the East and make them look good.
Hmm.
That okay, well, this is the trust board, this is the action items, this is what we got planned. So I'm gonna be there to support that. I'm gonna take the football. I'm gonna start the first leg and running towards that goal, and then being able to collaborate with the brothers to get the support needed to achieve that goal. Because one band, one sound. We're all a team.
mm,
That one man can't do it all. You know what I mean? So, from those two seats,
mm,
um, understanding what brothers like. Um, how it may be a cigar, brother might like a black and mild, this brother might like cognac, this brother like, as far as trying to get those
mhm,
um what you like doing there, and then how to get people to move and work. No, it's not my idea, but we got to function, and my function is to make this idea come to pass. um, Brother Junior Warden, reach out to the stewards. Let's do a Zoom call. I'm gonna get the Junior Deacon and the Tyler on board, and we're gonna game plan how to bring this into resolution. Because when you become a worshipful master, I say that you embody all the seats in the lodge, and so you should know everybody. You should understand labor. You should be able to delegate. Um, and if you know the brothers, you understand what it means to be a servant leader. These are things that kind of paved my way. Um, Talking with the lodge and identifying what the lodge want to see. You know, you may not have brothers that want to come in to a business meeting every time they show up. Uh, I told some brothers that if you're gonna teach me business, I might as well get a business administration
mm,
degree, so I can go ahead and I can learn business. But what we come here to do, um, you're leaving your wife, leaving your significant other, your children, the laudable undertakings. Why am I coming here? So I want to know what these brothers like, what they came for. So as I moved through the seats, I was able to first assist and then provide what it is that you came because we want to keep you interested, keep you intrigued.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
great.
yeah, definitely. I actually found the pictures. That's all. I pulled them up
Ah,
in a second.
yeah. And
um,
just so you know, too, we
yeah,
got to shout out Grandmaster
yeah,
Morton.
exactly.
One band, one sound. That's his
Sound.
motto for
That's
his
our
administration.
Grandmaster's motto. So that's both of us looked up like, huh?
Love it.
Exactly. So, definitely, like I said, one of the keystone questions that we have on the show is, what is effective leadership in your eyes?
That's a great question. So effective leadership, it involves, to me, um, guiding and influence people to an objective. And then you get different points that go with it. Um, you got to have clear communication. Um, you have to have strategic thinking, emotional intelligence. I talked about that in the presentation earlier today. Um, Accountability, adaptability, being able to listen more than you speak, because effective leadership, in my mind, excuse me, is that everybody could be a leader, anybody could be a leader, but are you effective at it? Are you actually taking the task that you got presented? You can communicate that in such a way that it can be replicated and duplicated. Um, pull me out the seat, but the process is still there. Somebody else can come in and follow that same script. That's my idea of effective leadership.
Mm.
Oh, like again, like we said earlier, creating systems.
Yes, sir. Created system. Hey, there's no need to recreate the wheel. That system is already in place.
Okay. Yeah,
um,
leadership. The statement around everybody can be a leader. I think everybody can be assigned the title leader. But if nobody's following you,
You're not effective. You just got the title leadership. So
like yeah, slap a title on the brother. Yes, you are said leader, but I have no followers.
right. There's an idea, that concept of food with a gavel. So, I mean,
mm,
the authority will get you so far, but if you can't wield it, um,
Yes.
if you don't know the people that you're dealing with, how could you ask them to do something? Because there's this selfish, there's this selfish aspect in politics, is what's in it for me, that I have to be getting something out of it. What am I getting? It could
Hmm.
be the edification that we've completed this community endeavor, and look at all the smiles on the faces of the children. Or it could be that, I want our lodge to be Lodge of the Year, and we're going to be ritualistically proficient. So, all right, well, we're going to have some setup sessions where we talk about ritualistic proficiency and actually practice the burial, the degree work, and all this different stuff. It may be, hey, I need education. Give me some of that mystery school stuff that you Masons supposed to have.
Hmm.
Well, there'll be periods of instruction where we'll go farther than the subject. We'll go past through the veil. We'll dig deeper. So if you can give the brothers what they're asking for, uh, you have to know them and know what they want. So that's an individual relationship that you establish with each individual that will allow you to interact with them, because you may have some brothers on your road that you've called them many times and they've never answered the phone or responded back. Those brothers, you love them from a distance, but you focus on the ones that allow you to interact and engage with them.
Mm.
I do want to point out something uh, that happened to be three people in a row mentioned this about as far as going to their house, going to brothers' houses and getting to know their families and how important that was. And it comes to what the point of what you said is about creating the relationships, getting to know the brothers intimately, to have that relationship, especially with, like you said, the wives, which will eventually one day be the widow, and the orphans, or their children will one day might be the orphan, even though they be grown and everything like that, they still will have their relationship with them. So when they do pass away, it may not be you, but they have a particular relationship with the lodge to be comfortable. That wife be able to come to the brothers and be like, oh, and she'll know she'll get comfort and be able to get sold, and that the brothers are truly there for them when that day happens, because it will happen one day. So that's very important. It's something that we kind of get away from in this modern age. But I'm glad that brothers are stressing that even now, to definitely get to know the family and going to each other's houses and stuff like that. I know particularly, too many people ain't come to my house. Just the way just the way it happened to be, you know. But yeah, I definitely stress my wife knowing them and I talk about them enough to, to get to know, who they are, and then when she come out, make sure I introduce them to her and she to them, you know, whatever the situation is. That's important too. Sometimes brothers don't realize that they might have the wife out at an event, but they ain't taking them around to the brothers, taking them
Yes,
around.
correct.
Exactly.
Correct. And my thing is, like I tell brothers that, you know, we can't be a lodge of brothers meeting at a meeting place.
Hmm.
That that if there's no bond there, that I can't call you and say, Pastor Miles Alexander, listen, man, I'm stopping by the cigar lounge. I know I just called you. I'm actually heading there now. I didn't give you doing timely notice. I got two other brothers there. Hey man, come on by. And if the bond is there, you'll show up.
Hmm.
And take it from just an entertainment to, hey, we got this Foot Locker that we're giving to these children that's going to college, the 12th grade, they're going to graduate. We need to go to Walmart, Publix, or whatever stores to pick up all this different stuff to go in this trunk, laptops, iron board, iron, all this stuff. And if that bond is there, that then you can go and do that. So
Hmm.
if it's just brothers showing up to a large meeting, that, let's go out and have something to eat may be more difficult if the bond is not there. And if you can't do that, you can't go and do the work. So it starts with getting to know and then creating a bond. When the bond is created, that you can run through a wall and
Mm.
you got brothers that'll follow right behind with you. Um, hop into a car and drive the grand session together, stand in a two-bedroom place and it's five of y'all staying there. As far as that you can be able to bond that way, or on a off weekend, take your wife and children, we'll get an Airbnb, we'll do it for 3 days, and then we can spend the weekend just in this location. We could chill as a family. So that bonding aspect to me is important, especially if you're trying to grow a large.
Mm.
Then it comes to the point of similar to what we were just talking about being a leader by title and by actually being a leader. You being a brother by title, because that's a title, and actually being a brother is two different things.
I
Yeah.
love it.
And your point that you made earlier, Pastor Mr. Epps, about guarding that west gate, that's a key first step from my mind, because if that west gate is loose and you letting anybody in your lodge, you're gonna be less likely to invite them in your house. You're gonna be less interested in hanging out with them. You're not gonna bring your wife around them. And so, these are the things, like, you take, like, all these things sort of build on each other from my perspective. And so there have been times where we sort of value numbers sometimes in certain spaces over the quality, and I use quality loosely. What we know what we mean by that. Somebody that we can actually trust. Like, you should not be letting anybody in that lodge if you can't leave them at home. That what the things that we say is, if you can't leave them at home with your wife without you there, he should not be in your lodge. That's been a
Amen.
statement that I've heard, and I
Yep.
actually believe that. I actually think
Hmm.
that's one of the a key test. Like, if I can't leave Mark at home with Tamika, and
Hmm.
I'm not there, and I feel like, I don't know how that's going. He don't need
I
to
done
be in the
messed
lodge.
up,
He
right?
Yeah.
definitely need to blackball reject.
Yeah. Exactly. All right. Now we can understand her being uncomfortable, but you should, yeah.
But I need to
That,
be
yeah,
comfortable
you need to
with
be
you
comfortable.
being,
I understand.
yeah,
Yeah, no,
around
I
my
understand
children
that.
and my
Yeah, of
family and my
course, of
wife without
course,
me being there.
of course, 100%.
That's a
I
that's a
agree
key
with that.
litmus test.
No, I agree with that. I definitely agree with
Hmm.
that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Now, I love how you talked about the intentionality of building bonds outside the meeting room. Oftentimes, also, like, the meeting room is like the first place where we establish those bonds. So if brothers aren't showing up to the meetings, but they come to all the fun stuff, but they don't come to the meetings. Sometimes brothers feel a way about that too. Like, I don't want to kick with him. Like, all he come around is just for this. And so that's another dynamic that gets into, like, how do we, so, how do we block and tackle so that then we can start doing all the other things on top of that. But, it all has its own little nuances and dynamics there. I'm curious now. Can you share, like, when those 2 years that you were in the East, knowing that we just came out of COVID? So, came out of COVID, joined two lodges. What were, like, one or two of your key pillars or of your of focus areas when you were in the East?
Um, so one of the biggest things I got there, we had fire hazards, um, that to the point where the fire department was saying that, hey, you know, we're probably at the point we're gonna close this lodge. And
Mm,
I got this thing about people of color having organizations in a building that you just let it go by the wayside.
Mhm.
You know, you got people that'll sit there and say, man, I wish we could have a building, or what way we can get a building, and then you have one and you let it go by the wayside. So one of the first things was, for the continuity of this lodge, was to make sure that fire codes was addressed. And it's funny because, you know, when you talk about wielding power to somebody who care not about power in itself, it's interesting to watch those type of people. So um, I put a message out and I was like, hey, you know, by the order of the Worshipful Master, um, we need to clean this lodge. I got with my senior warden. He identified one of those trucks that got one of those large, you know, trash receptacles attached to it. We stopped him. I asked him. At first, I asked the lodge, like, "Hey, man, what's a good time and date that we could get together? We'll be to, you know, get most people together." And it took a week. And then Monday is good. Tuesday is great. Wednesday, Thursday. I was like, "Well, we ain't got enough people to get together." I was like, "Sing word, I got this. Hey, ask this guy how much he gonna charge for it to sit there 7 days. We gonna sit it out there in the yard for 7 days, and we're gonna pay for it for 7 days. And by the order of Worshipful Master, I need the Eastern Stars and the brothers to come in here and clean this building. As far as you said, you gave a couple of days, a time and dates. You just need to be there during your time and date. 72 hours later, the building was clean. It was spotless. So that was one of the first jumps. Then I guess that let some folks know that, okay, there's a change in the tides. You know, there's something different. Getting to know all the brothers that will allow me to get to know them. Um, was another thing, because we had some brothers that um they'll dig deep on the subject, man, and they'll take their night cloths and something to eat, a flashlight, and they'll bury down in there. But then you have some brothers that just studied the subject. Um and I was like, well, for us to be a Masonic education for the jurisdiction, we will need to be ritualistic proficient, so we can get past the ritual aspect, that you could talk about some of the more of the mystery schools and whatnot. And one of my brothers was like, they don't want to hear that. They're not listening to that. They're not ready for that. I've tried it. I said, well, you know, I grew up with my grandparents, and I didn't like baked beans, but when you put sugar in it, it gives a totally different complex of taste. So I was like, well, we need to just be able to present it in such a way that we're giving them sugar. And I was like, if you use the liberal arts and sciences as your base to talk about whatever in the world, that you can have a conversation about esoterics. You just rubber band back to liberal arts and sciences. He was like, it sounds good, but I don't think they're ready. And that's what started me doing presentations.
mm,
Um, so that and the ritualistic proficiency were some of the three things that was near and dear to me, because I wanted you to come and see something. You couldn't listen to me talk about esoterics if everybody reading the book during the opening. Um, if we doing degree work and I'm mispronouncing words, and I got the book in my face and the candidate no longer can't see, they can see everything, and I'm reading here and I'm asking you to be 100% proficient, you know, somewhere in it there's a disconnect. So I was one of those masters that I had to show the craft that I can get my feet wet, that I wasn't the guy that was going to sit in the east and bark all this stuff and just wait for y'all to do it, that I'm gonna jump off the dais and roll my sleeves up and get in there to it. And I believe I got a lot of respect from brothers, that I'm not gonna ask you to do something that I wouldn't do myself. So if there was three of them, I would say that those would be the three. I had a trusted board, and then I had a 33 task action trusted board as well. So there was action items that I needed to address, and one got marked off. You know, we kept rolling. So I think in the first 2 years, I think I knocked off 17 of them. Um, but yeah, I say that was some of the um, I say there's three things that I say that I kind of really honed in on outside of the 33 items that I had on my dresser board, action items.
I'm just smiling because I know you was like 33 out and went up their spine from the brain. They don't even know you getting esoteric.
Oh, hey, so you give it to him in different ways, you know.
Exactly. Yeah,
Nice.
definitely. Definitely I love the point of you being showing an example as a leader. That's very important. I do want to point out something since I found it and do that real quick. Okay. It don't take too long, but it shouldn't take me too long to find this. I'm sorry, brothers,
You good.
but I gotta point this out.
I'm
If I
still
know how to
going through my
find my own
phone.
type of stuff in my
But you had it up ready to go, Mark.
yeah, I know I didn't. And I'm sorry for that. And I ain't even got it in the right wrong spot either.
Past
So
Master Donna Malone. That's what it was. I just go through my
oh,
phone.
there you got through it? Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
that was the guy.
See,
Yeah.
all right. So while we doing this, can you point out some other mentors that guided you out your way while I
Mark,
find these
just
people?
stop sharing until you find it.
Yeah, yeah, okay. I got you. But it's
Um.
that's your anal. I got you, man.
You already know.
I
Yes.
So past Master
appreciate you.
Donna Malone. At times Worshipful Master. Past Master Saint John Bender. He was definitely quintessentially my Masonic career. He started the fire uh, by being able to go through that ritual. I mean, you can ask the man what the ISBN number is, and he'll jump into it. So that really got me. He wasn't a past master. Trent Robinson, he was the brother that actually gave me the application. Um, and I've always liked the way that he moved and maneuvered. And so I definitely got tips and tricks from him. Here in Florida, shucks. Um, Past master Tony Howard, who was assistant district deputy, past master Robert Johnson, who is currently our district deputy emeritus, but he was the district deputy for 17 years, 24, 25, and 26. Um, Past master Berry, past master Rackliffe. Um, there's been a numerous amount of brothers that from the Florida jurisdiction that, you know, I either ask questions or they demanded me certain things. I had some of them telling me like, "Hey man, you can't close that thing down without some sort of period of instruction. Um, like, hey, you are not required to close in short form. You have to close long form. You know, kind of challenges like that. Past Master Whitehead, that man has been my rock. I go and ask him a question, and if he don't smile, then I don't need to go in that direction. But if he give me that smile, all right, that's a good idea. I'm gonna write that down. So, and I know I'm probably gonna miss some folks, but there's been a lot of definitely a lot of wisdom that came from Alabama and Florida that kind of led me into the East. Um, like I said, St. John, man, that's the first man that I met in masonry that literally understood the theatrics.
This
And
man.
that is St. John right there.
Look
That is
Nice.
St. John right there
Look
with
at
the
young brother
yellow.
right there.
Yes, and he looked like the youngest of them there, but that is St.
St.
John.
John.
That is the man that will take you through a journey and talk to you as if
Hmm.
it's just a regular conversation that we have and understands that book from rooter to tutor. That's the man that started my fire in masonry right there.
Awesome.
Nice. You see, you see,
Where'd you
you
meet
see,
Brother St. John?
I met him. So his lodge, the lodge was actually under a church, in like Eastlake. So we actually met under a church, which was it was interesting. But Brother Trent Robinson is the one who gave me the application to join St. John Lodge number 57, and so I met him coming through the line. I had no other cable toes. It was just me coming through the line,
Yeah.
and it was a very interesting process. This was right before they stopped, reaching out and touching you. So when they said you couldn't do that, so I was in the reach out and touch years. But yes, Quentin, that's
Mhm.
the past master in the blue there. He was the worship master when I was the past master. Trent Robinson, the guy with the black suit. all the way to the left, that's the guy who gave me the application. And
Okay.
those two brothers in the middle, I raised those guys.
Nice.
Um, but yeah, man, that's awesome. That's very awesome.
Yeah.
Small
Wow, that's
world.
coincidence like a mother.
Small world.
Yes,
Love that.
sir.
Thanks for
Yeah,
sharing that, Mark. That's
my
dope.
family's from Anniston, Alabama.
Oh,
So when I
sweet.
went down there, that was a large that was meeting. It was in October because it was right before council deliberation. So I went down there during the weekend, did the council deliberation during the weekend.
See, that was dope. See, yeah,
Mm.
that's my guys, man. They
Mhm.
really looked out for me in my Masonic career. Brother Bear, he wasn't the past master at the time. He became a
Mhm.
worshipful master after I left.
Mhm.
Had some great conversations with him. Uh, Michael Jones, he is not necessarily he's not he didn't make it a past master, but me and had a lot of great conversations. I raised him, but then when I came to Florida, he became a 33rd in
Nice.
Alabama Council deliberation. So no,
Mhm.
man, I had a bastion of people that preceded me that kind of given me some insight on how I need to manage these brothers and keep the fire running, passing that flame to the next worshipful master. um, you're told that a great worshipful master prepares the senior ward to be a great worshipful master. Out of all the
Mhm.
duties that's there, I would say that that's the most important of a worshipful master. Irregardless of how great you are and what you do in your time, is that making sure that the senior warden is a great worshipful master himself.
Mm.
Or whoever's behind you, because it might not particularly be the
And
senior
anybody in
warden.
particular,
And
correct?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. All the officers that's behind you, get them ready. Step up for the next position.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Continuity.
Yeah.
Um, I wanted to just point out, and we talked about feeding the people and how you get them to get into the esoterics as far as giving them sugar, to get them to see it. That was one way. And then going back to our study class with Doric just a couple hours ago, when Right Worshipful Harlan talked about, salt of, making them thirsty so they
Mm.
want to drink.
That was dope,
So
man. That was a
yeah,
Yeah,
quotable.
he always used that analogy too. Like you can't make a horse drink, but you can make
yeah,
him thirsty.
You
yeah,
give him some
exactly.
salt.
So yeah, you gotta give them some salt. So it's like you
Shout
just
out to
find a
Past
particular
Mr.
way,
Harlan.
something that's going to get them to want to actually want it, to make them thirsty.
Correct.
So it's the same wet thing in a different perspective what you talked about with the sugar. So there's different ways to get the same objective done. Again, this is going to go back to another Dora study class when I hopped on last week when they was talking about, um, but you never use algebra in life, right? But I'm not going to algebra. Let's talk about this new math that every old people tends to hate. Oh,
Common
why they got
core.
to go with it? Yeah, we got to learn a new math. It's because it teaches you there's four ways to solve a problem. We only learned one.
Mm.
So that's the purpose of it. It ain't really about the math. It's telling you to think is different perspectives and way to solve a problem. Same way as you can use sugar or you can use salt in order to get a brother to just try something different, you
Yes.
know?
And see
So,
and so one of the things I picked up last year was like taking complex concepts
mhm.
and being able to put it through a grinder so you can feed more people with it. And
Mm,
and I call it fishing because I was told by several brothers that, hey man, one page of your presentation can actually be an entire presentation. I was like, and agreed. That's true. But we're looking at a subject matter and we're under the umbrella of the subject matter, and I'm just hitting points. I'm just hitting points. I'm not expounding far on it, but as you know, the conversations, the basic conversation as far as the subject or topic that we're talking about, and then it's passing the veil, going a little deeper, and then digging deeper. So I put a presentation together that hits all those points. They hit those 3 points. And I get to the end, actually there's questions. And if there's brothers that's asking questions, then I just got a big fish. So then I can go a little deeper with you in conversation. That everybody is not necessarily gonna go that deeper. Right Works for
mhm,
Harlan said that you might have some people that stand right up to the veil and don't even pass into it. So that's perfectly fine for them as well. But my presentation will feed everybody in there.
mhm,
I get to the digging deeper aspect. I'm talking to the adepts, and then
Mm.
maybe something in that conversation that I'll teach you as well. that if you start asking questions or you send me text messages and be like, hey man, you talked about this, that, and the third, I can start feeding you. But I can't, I don't do it to everybody because I don't know my target audience. I just want more people to understand what I'm saying than less.
Amen. So, couple shout outs we got to make since we mentioned it. We got to shout out Past Master Bill Harlan out of North Star Lodge, number
Mm-hmm.
one out of Chicago, Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we also got to shout out Dork Lodge, number 53 out of Most
Mm-hmm.
Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge in New York, and Past Master Les Moore, who is who started the show, the educational series that they do every week consistently for the last 5 years. I
5
feel like
years.
5 years. And Past Master Epes is now the co-host, I understand, over the
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
last, recently. So, shout out to Doric and Les for the great work they do.
So any regular Masons, if you're free on a Wednesday night, you can hit us up in Masterful Conversation. We can send you the link. You could hop on and get that education.
Yes, yes, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the USA. Doric
Mm-hmm.
Lodge has been bringing the light and bringing guests on for the last 5 years. So shout out to
Amen.
Definitely.
those brothers for
Oh,
sure.
I want to give a shout out to St. John Lodge 57,
Mm-hmm.
where Corey Hawkins is the Grand Master in
Mm-hmm.
Alabama. And then I need to uh, Jeffrey G. Jones, he just passed the chair,
Okay.
so
Mm-hmm.
he's now past Grand Master. Our new
Mm-hmm.
Grand Master is most worshipful Grand Master Gus Harris.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I want to definitely give them their flowers because it's been through those two jurisdictions that I've been able to matriculate in masonry and share my thoughts without getting a purple letter. So God is good.
Yes, yes,
And
yes, yes, yes.
also
And
congratulations for what I hear for you already had recognition, but now they open up visitation within the between the state grand
That
body
is
and
correct.
Prince
Yes, sir.
Hall, which is
And all you
great.
got to do at this point is just send the invite.
Mm-hmm.
So if an invite is sent, you can accept it and show up.
so we are making
Outstanding.
progress. We in 2025, we are still unifying grand lodges
Mm-hmm.
uh in this day and age, but it's still beautiful just to see the pictures. It's beautiful to hear the announcements about those occurrences for sure.
Let
Um
me speak to the union real quick. Can you explain why the name your Grand Lodge is that?
Yes, which is an interesting situation that so we had a bogus entity that actually took on the Prince Hall name in Florida and apparently took it to court, and since they established it first that they were the users of it. So we had to style it as the most worshipful Union Grand Lodge of Florida. We don't have the Prince Hall in our name, similar to Mississippi, that you had um, a body of clandestine individuals that took the name and legally had it first. And with them legally having it first, we had to take the Prince Hall out our name. And so now we're the most worshipful Union Grand Lodge of Florida, Prince Hall affiliated, and that's our story.
Yeah, so as many brothers traveling to Florida, just know that's the official Prince Hall body. Don't get it confused. And Mississippi is the most worshipful Stringer Grand Lodge.
Correct.
Most worshipful what grand lodge?
Stringer.
Stringer.
Stringer
Yep.
Grand Lodge.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So most worshipful Stringer Grand Lodge if you're in Mississippi, most
Mm-hmm.
worshipful Union Grand Lodge if you're in Florida. So if you see most worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Florida, move with caution. Move with caution. Respectfully. Respectfully at all
Respectfully.
times. Respectfully. Shout out to those brothers out there, but respectfully. Always show respect, but you got to know where you are at all times for sure. All right. A couple last questions here
Mm-hmm.
before we wrap up. Your current worshipful master, who is that brother, and how are you showing up currently as a past master?
So the current worship master is worship master Curtis Jackson. John Curtis. Yeah, who is that? Was just Patrick. Yeah, Curtis Patrick. I'm sorry, I
I'm
don't know.
about
I
to
said
say 50
Jackson. Yeah,
Cent, 50 Cent your
Curtis.
master?
Yeah, Curtis Patrick. I was just tripping out. Bless my heart. I'm talking, thinking too fast. And so how I'm helping him, because that's a great question, because you don't want to feel have them feel threatened that you're standing on their toes. So I provided him a lot of the information that was needed to be successful because I hold through the premise that to be a great worshipful master is to prepare your senior warden to be a great senior warden. So what I gave him was distance. I gave him distance because there was a couple of instances where it looked like he might have felt I was threatening him. That I gave him the necessary distance so he can get his own bearings about it. He got my telephone number. He can definitely give me a call, but you want to also be mindful of the harmony. And that's a big thing if you got somebody that's feeling like you're trying to overtake or usurp their authority. Um, so you just kind of move cautiously. Um, Ever ready to provide assistance where needed. But what I kind of do at this point, from the Blue Lodge to the Eagles Club, is I just present stuff. It may be a situation that I saw or experienced, and then I present that. So I'm a large district jurisdiction mason where I'm looking to find um, and add benefits, at multiple levels of masonry. So preferably that uh, we get past the space where he may feel or think that I'm trying to step on his toes, and we could get to some real genuine work. But this time, I give him the distance so he can kind of figure out himself because I don't want him to feel like he's under my shadow. But one thing that I did state to him is that the Grandmaster Gus Harris is not a Grandmaster. Under Jeffrey G. Jones, past Grandmaster for 5 years, that he comes into the office, that new Grandmaster won't remove what that prior Grandmaster did. See it as a wheel going on, and the new master puts a new color on the wheel. If the wheel is rotating and moving in direction, wouldn't be a need to change it. You just add your flavor to it, and that might be just a different color or some grooves. But that assistance is always there for him if you need it.
It's great. Great
Definitely.
self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Great understanding of the principles of masonry around maintaining harmony and just being aware of the situation and also allowing the worship master to, stand in his own light for a little bit and experience it for himself. So that's fantastic that you do that. Excellent.
Yes, sir.
Past Master Epps, I know you're definitely a reader, a leader that's a reader. So, I mean, do you have any particular books on leadership or a couple of your favorite Masonic books?
Man, uh,
I don't want to keep us on here for another 3 hours, though,
I was
bro.
just about to say, man, because
What's one? What's one? Get the audience one.
I got a folder full of stuff. There's we had a conversation once that some brother said that, masonry never changes, right? And I'm a believer that masonry is progressive science. Masonry has been changing since the inception.
Hmm.
Um, that if there's any books to read, uh, I would say that it would be in the space of looking at older rituals
Mm.
to see what older rituals talked about and what they did. Um, you got Shaver's Masonic Monitor by W.M. Shaver,
Read that.
um, that looking at older rituals, because there's been dialogue, adages, and usages that was removed out of masonry.
Mm.
And to see the current ritual in 2025 versus the early 1700s, I can tell you that you would see differences. And for you to be able to experience masonry just outside the jurisdiction so you can get a wholehearted understanding of the fluidity of how it is. But I would say the Shaver's Monitor, for certain, anything written by Manly P. Hall, um, anything written by um, Wait, would definitely be some good ones, but to really
Mm.
focus in and see how the changes were made um, with the prior rituals, 17, 18, 1900s, um, that you will see how diverse masonry is, and maybe, just maybe, you wouldn't be nervous or scared to try to when you turn a corner as a master and you add something in it, um, or you put something, a part of it into it where you don't think that you're changing masonry, that really you need to be willing to change with it because it's a progressive science. And if you stop the progression, what is it that we're doing?
Mm.
So those older rituals to me would definitely give credence to the timeline on masonry and where it has taken us and how you can then take it from somewhere. Um, Probably be a good book because I stick within that window of the 1900s. A lot of good stuff in those books.
Yeah,
Excellent.
definitely. I know we had a brother from my old jurisdiction, Brother Garfield, and he rests in peace. He always talked about anything before 1920.
Mm. Mm.
Um, and your the shavers ritual, I happen to have is it little? The one I have is a little one. It's like a
So
little book.
so I'm one of those if there's
Like all
something that I
electronic.
want,
Hmm.
yep.
Okay.
If it's something I'm looking for, so I don't just spend money.
Hmm.
Um, I'll go in Shavers Masonic Monitor.pdf on Google and hit
Okay.
and see if I
Yeah.
see any
See it.
links. If
Hmm.
I see the links, then I just put it in my folder where I got my PDFs.
Okay.
If it's a book that I really need to have,
Hmm.
like Masonry Defined, something like that, I
Hmm.
go buy the book. I put that on the shelf.
Okay.
So,
Understood.
but I will start there. I think it's like PDF 310 pages.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I just saying particularly because that the shavers I have is just a little ritual. It's about like this big. Yeah, it was interesting. That was a real small book, like a
yes.
pocket size that fit into your little like
Mm.
that. Something like in your inside suit pocket, definitely with no problem.
And
Yeah.
I think this one specifically I'm looking at is the 10th edition from 1907.
Hmm.
Um, but it provides some great insight on what the ritual looked like, what they was talking about. Like you don't see a lot of Masons talking about odes and the different hymns and songs that associated with some of the degrees in the work.
Hmm.
You pretty much in certain rituals nowadays you see that's been totally removed out. But
Hmm.
music is a part of liberal arts and sciences, so that should be incorporated. So that type of thinking that, it sparks and spawns when you go back into those older rituals. Now don't go to your lodge um quoting those rituals because your Grand Master and the Grand Lodge has the one that you should be looking at,
Using that exactly,
but for
100%.
study and edification and
Hmm.
understanding where Macer has went and where it's going, you need to know the history.
Excellent. So that's the Shavers Masonic ritual.
Yep.
Hmm.
Excellent.
Shavers.
All right.
Hmm.
That Shavers like SHAVER.
VER.
Yep. Hmm.
Okay. All right. So brothers listening right now, check it out. Look up, Google it, see if you can find it. If not, then hit up brother Epes. He can lead you, or Mark. He has the info as well.
That's correct.
So,
No,
We
I
we
don't know
can
where I
definitely
got
get
that,
to
but I
you.
don't even know where I got that book from. I think I might have got it from Carlos. I don't know where I got that book from, but I know I
okay.
got
All right. All
it.
right. So we know a couple guys that have some
Yeah,
information for
exactly.
you.
Correct. We
Cool.
won't lead you astray.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
know we are wrapping up on our time. I'm not going to ask you the question about what you would do if you went back in the East because you was like fresh out of the East. So we're gonna let that cook for a little bit. We're gonna let that cook for a little bit. But I am curious about. I know you talked about cleaning the lodge up, ritualistic work as you were in the East. What's one of your proudest moments being in the East?
Um, I mean, I had actually several of them because
Okay.
um nobody knew shining light other than the Grand Lodge and the Grand Lodge officers, the district deputy, assistant district deputy, because they had to do reports and show up to the lodge for evaluations and things of that sort. Um, as far as the way that Shining Light was marketed in my time, like I said, we made wins all up in New York, all through the state of Florida, Caribbeans, Nova Scotia, Michigan, Texas, Alabama, far as Colorado. Had some junior grand wardens interested, wanting to come and meet. We got a crest created that
Mm.
incorporated our lodge, the history of Somerset and the history of Shining Light. And then I created a Facebook page because all that was a part of the 33 action items. And at first it started off daily. We would post just Masonic discourse, to kind of just have something you can go to and look at. Started inviting some people. Page got to growing, and I put the crest on there. And I go to Jacksonville, Grand Lodge session, or the Lyceum in Orlando, and brother would just see the crest, and they'll run up, hey brother, and start talking about stuff that was on the Facebook page. Man, I want to come and visit, see what you guys are doing. I like what I see on social media. So to build that kind of market strategy was really awesome. Um, to be able to bring in some brothers, because we didn't have members, 7, 8, 10 years or something without having candidates.
Mm.
Oh
That
wow.
we had candidates in each class that was under my tutelage. We had the president and the vice president of that class. It was set up as a district, so District 24, 25, and 26 would bring their candidates together, and a president would be picked from the class. So you can have,
Hmm.
11, 12, 13, 15 guys coming through the process.
Hmm.
So each year that we had a class that I was the master, the president, the vice president came out of that. Being able to add more eyeballs to the lodge, all the way up to the Grand Lodge, as far as being aware of what we're doing and just seeing that work. Um, the new brothers that came in, um, I would personally work with them going through the process. You know, the guy that was in the picture, Trent, as far as they had the black suit that was standing up in the
Hmm.
back second row from uh, St. John's,
Zones.
he would tell me, "Hey, you need to call me between 7 and 7, Monday through Saturday, and you need to give me something." And something out of the book that I was reading and going through the process. And so I adopted that. Hey, Monday through Saturday, 7 to 7, you need to call me, you need to give me something. Do first, second,
Hmm.
to third degree. And that built a relationship, that established a relationship. So I got brothers that want to travel to Grand Lodge, brothers that want to travel to the Lyceum. Um, and so just seeing that out of nothing, out of darkness came light. And that started with a thought. And then I had my past masters that was in the boat with me. um, that was beautiful to see that that there was a mark left on Shining Light, that I assisted with the help of the brothers that breathed life into a lodge that was dead, and to get recognition just outside of the state and almost crossed west,
Mhm.
up north, Caribbeans, that felt like the fruits of our labors was working. Um, and so outside of the impact that we did in the community, I think those things was pivotal because it wasn't there before.
All right. Great.
Yeah,
Excellent. Thank
outstanding.
you.
You said Lyceum. I'm trying to figure what's that.
Yeah, I see them. So it's a very antiquated and educated way to say just a session where you're learning, a teaching lesson or something. Like
Hmm.
in college they call them colloquiums. So you have a
Hmm.
colloquial, but
Hmm.
it's just an avenue where you just learning and educating. Um, as far as, so they did some teaching. That is for one of our jurisdiction events here in Florida.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Okay.
that
So it
we'll
was a
have.
straight educational event.
Yes, yes. As far
Nice.
as the straight education event for, Friday, Saturday, they have a tournament, golf tournament, that's
Hmm.
associated with it. They do a
Hmm.
scholarship. So no, it's
Okay.
pretty nice. It's pretty
Yeah,
nice.
that sounds real good. Yeah, definitely. All right. Past Master Epps, it definitely was a pleasure have you on this evening. Imparting the light from Shining Light down in Florida, and teaching us some things and stressing some things. Definitely, things like uh, effective leadership is guiding people to a goal. You got to listen more than you speak. Communication is definitely important. Um, being worship master, just being a leader is creating the systems in which other people can follow behind, not just for you, so leaving that blueprint, those forms that go in philosophy.
Love it.
um, um, creating relationships is extremely important, and I love the way you did it from warden all the way up, so that you'll be able to work together as brothers and create that bond. Building a foundation of education is important, and then building up from that. Being an example as a leader, not just saying it and doing. doing something else and making sure that you won't do it. Ask anybody else to do something that you won't do yourself. So you
Correct.
definitely need to be um example. And as a past master, sometimes you got to step back. At the same time, be ever ready to help. Just being there for your brothers, letting them free and rock. So yeah, there's definitely some jewels that brothers I hope they take away from and get something and change it to your own way, because that's what it's about, you know. So past master Epes, thank you for those.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Greatly appreciate the
yes, yes.
invite,
Yes,
and the time with the dialogue. I greatly appreciate the conversation.
Mhm.
absolutely. I echo those sentiments, Past Master Epps. Thank you for your time, energy, and the craft. I mean, traveling between states,
Mhm.
going through the chairs, unifying two lodges, and now doing your presentations and supporting, going outside of your jurisdiction to build relationships. Again, you are exemplifying the things that you say you hold near and dear to you. So, huge thanks to you for all you do for not only your lodge but also the craft as a whole. So much appreciation to you, and thank you for being on the show for sure.
I
Yes,
do.
sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, finish off. I just want to say one thing. Like I said, I said, I I'm coming to say that, you know, they say God moves in mysterious ways, but I would say if you pay attention, you see the mysterious ways. And I still think that was God, that I happened to visit a lodge that you wound up coming from. That, look at God.
Look at God. I mean, that was when
You
you.
can't let that go. You is not letting
Hey,
that go, Mark. Like,
no,
nah,
when you,
I
when you
was there.
showed the
I was
picture, I was like,
there.
"Oh my goodness!" I got a picture. I got a picture that when I was a senior deacon. I got it on my dresser upstairs. I
Mm,
still keep it with me.
mm,
So you said, "Oh, I went down and visited." Oh, I could point out those brothers that you see.
mm.
That was a blessing, and there God does work in mysterious ways. That was definitely heartfelt to see because I will tell anybody about Shining St. John Lodge 57. That's where I started my career at. I actually ran into it was a federal, I think it was a F card, it was a Grand Lodge session, I don't remember. But Grandmaster Hawkins and Grandmaster Jones was there together. And I stood up
Mm,
at the when we broke and I said, "Hey, I need a picture with both of y'all." I said, "You
mm,
my first Grandmaster and you my current Grandmaster." And
mm.
I think it is only befitting that I take pictures with you gentlemen. And they was like, "Sure." I hopped up there just as quick, so that was sweet. Uh greatly appreciate you firing that photo off, sir.
Yes, yes.
Definitely,
Good thing you ain't
definitely.
go down there acting a fool, Mark. So now we
Right,
Oh
all
right,
no, no,
right,
no.
right,
I'm never gonna do that. Look, and now you gave me an idea in case I do demit down to North Carolina. I gotta make that picture happen with Dorian and whoever's the grand master.
hey, photo
Yeah,
challenge.
photo
Let's go.
challenge. Yeah, photo
Hey,
challenge.
all right. This is the new challenge for all Master Masons. Get a picture of your Grandmaster when you got raised, and the
Yeah.
current Grandmaster. If you
Well,
older than
I
if you
always
older than
do
four
that. I
years.
always try to get a picture of with my grandmaster. Always do that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely do that. Every year I
See if
got to
you can
get a
get them
picture of my
together if
grand.
they're still
Yeah,
alive, and
live. Yep.
you older
Yes.
than
Mm-hmm.
4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Some of you, if you brand new, then you may not be able to get that photo,
Hey,
but you might need to wait a couple
Yeah,
days.
and if you find it, put it on social media and hashtag masterful conversations.
Yeah, let's do
Yeah,
that. That's
that'll be
the
hot.
challenge for
I
sure.
think that'll be hot. And drop that on your Facebook page of your
Yeah, yeah,
lodge. And if you don't have one, you need to create one.
yeah,
Go
one,
ahead and get
definitely,
you one.
Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. All right, all right. So there you have it, everyone. Great gems dropped tonight. Good knowledge, good information. Much appreciated again, Past Master Epps, for your time, energy tonight. We appreciate all that you shared. Please, everyone listening right now, like, subscribe to the channel, share this episode with as many people as possible that you think could receive value from one or more of the nuggets that were shared on this episode. We appreciate all the love and the support and the feedback. We always say that the world needs leaders, and leadership starts with leading yourself. So please take the words that you heard tonight on this episode to improve yourself, whether you are in the craft or outside of the craft. Please take the words to improve yourself as a human being. And until the next time, God bless.